Now, hey, how you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with Crank.com and with that metal station. And today I'm getting to have a chat with Mark Sugar from Black Sabbath, who are due to release, I believe, their third full-length album, Untrue, 8th of October, which is an absolute stomper. I really enjoyed this album. Thank you very much for joining me, Mark.
Thank you for having me, man. This is great.
Nah, man, really, really great album. I love your sound. I hadn't heard of you guys till I got this, and I had to go back and check out all your other work, man. Just blown away. For the uninitiated and for someone who hasn't heard Black Sabbath before, how would you describe yourself and your music?
Oh wow. I would say I always hate having to describe it. I think it's best to hear it and see what impressions you get, because people take away all kinds of different stuff from it. I would say that we're mostly influenced by sort of classic metal, old school metal, and progressive metal / hard rock in general, and that's kind of where we're coming from, with bits of other things mixed in as we go. Whether that's more modern metal or other forms of music entirely, but there's just that little extra spice in there.
Yeah, it's so many different elements in there. You mentioned the trad metal. I was pulling out some prog stuff, some doom, and it's just a unique sound, but just something that absolutely rips. I draw comparisons to like VOIVOD, Mastodon even, and the old classics like Black Sabbath as well, man. It's got a really, really great sound. Can you tell us a little bit about making this album, Untrue? When did you start working on this one?
So we started in January. We started twice. We started in January of 2020 and got through exactly one rehearsal. And then, as you know, the entire world shut down. And you guys are doing a little better with that than we are right now. But yeah, when things got shut down, we couldn't really rehearse. We couldn't really do much of anything. Our bass player actually left the band at that time too. So it was just the three of us stuck at home, not being able to jam, not being able to do anything. And after about 8 or 9 months of doing that, I was just like, screw it, let's figure out a way to do this independently, remotely, which, is what everyone else did too. And I don't really like that. Like, that doesn't feel organic. That doesn't feel like a band to me, but we pulled it off because we, this is the third record we made. We've all known each other for years. And, not really me, but the other two guys in the band are pro enough that they could pull that off and make it sound cohesive. So we started recording in earnest in November of last year, and we kind of worked through the winter and early spring. We mixed the record in May, and that's about it.
Yeah. So with the departure of the bass player, how did that affect you guys with the making of this album? Was it just you three? Did you get someone to stand up and do the bass, or was it just the guitarist? And
you're actually the first person to ask that. And
really?
No one. There's a lot about metal as a genre where no one's like, hey, who played bass? Like, nobody cares. But
I do.
I filled in on bass for this one.
Cool.
I write a lot of the songs and a lot of the bass lines anyway, so it was like, it's not that much of a departure to buy a bass and learn how to play it and stuff. So, and I've filled in on a couple tracks before on the other two albums. So I stood in on bass, and other than that, it was the same lineup as Exile, the previous album.
Yeah, with Ryan and Gary there as well. Gary Naples on drum and Ryan Bruchette. Is it on? Did I ruin that name? Did I?
I don't even know if I'm saying it right. It's Brushert.
Brushert.
But for a first try, man, that was pretty close.
Yeah, man, it's all right. I'm an Aussie. I'm good at annihilating names. It's my thing. So tell us a little bit about the songwriting process for this one. What kind of inspired you and influenced you when you come to the lyrics and the songwriting for this one?
It's funny, man, and it all kind of goes back to the title. Like naming the album is the last thing we do. We didn't say, hey, we're going to make a record called Untrue. That came at the end, but it's like, I write all the lyrics because I have to sing them.
Yeah. And
all of this spawned from just, things here are fucked up. And having to sit here and endure that and listen to this for years. I mean, when we wrote this, I think we were like 3 years into the Trump administration, 2.5 years, and just, you know, it was a dark time. It's still a dark time. It's probably worse, sort of. And but you know, thinking about that and thinking about how the world is now kind of informed where I was going with the lyrics. And then, of course, by the time we got around to actually recording it, COVID had happened. We had all been quarantined for like a year. You know, no one had seen anybody or seen each other. And, you know, until there was a vaccine or whatever, we were all, speaking for myself, I was pretty freaked out about getting sick. I did get sick at one point. So like, it was, things were dark when we wrote the record. And then as I was recording it, things got even darker. So it didn't change the material. Like nothing got rewritten.
Yep.
You know, lyrics didn't change, but I think there was just a vibe to it where I'm in front of the microphone and it's like, man, I'm sick of this shit. You know, it was like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really sick of this. I know Victoria's been in lockdown for like 276 days. They're the most locked down city in the world.
I can't even send mail to you guys.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I tried to ship CDs to Australia. They came back. I can't even send you guys things in the mail. It's nuts, man.
Yeah, that is really nuts. Who done the mix and master for this one?
I'm sorry?
Who done your mix and master for this album?
Oh, on this is our second record working with Mr. Sanford Parker.
Yep.
Who has a very lengthy resume. He did Corrections House, which was some dudes from I Hate God. He worked with VOIVOD. I believe he did Atlas Moth. I'm gonna blank on something really obvious. But Dawnbringer.
Yep.
He's done some fantastic stuff, and he's based in Chicago. He was elsewhere for a while, but he's based in Chicago now. And I had actually worked on another project with him before, and Gary's done projects with him before. So we hit him up to work on Exile, and that turned out really awesome. So it seemed like a no-brainer to get him involved again, since he kind of knew how we sounded and what we were trying to do.
Yeah, well, that Exile back in 2019, it would have been like light day making that album. That's a great album, but to the little nitty-gritty processes we're talking about, being in lockdown, and it would have really been like, wow, this is a whole lot fucking different than that Exile album and the making of it.
You know, that's good to hear. I can't tell how different it is yet. Like, to me, it's like, oh, it's not the same thing. But
yeah, it is the same thing, but you can kind of feel that, you know, with the impact of everything that's happened as well. You know what I mean?
It's a little different, and I'm starting to realize that now. And part of it was just we also had more time to like record because no one was doing anything else. You know, I'm stuck in my house. I can't go anywhere. Yeah, I'm going to record 295 tracks of guitar because I can, you know. There's especially in the guitars, I mean everything, but especially the guitars, we went overboard. There's a lot of layers of things going on.
Was there a point that you got to and you're going, look, okay, and that's enough. I can't keep going over this because I'm just going to keep changing little bits and editing things to this album. Did you reach a point when you're like, nah, that's it, I can't keep doing this?
The only thing that stopped us was that we had time scheduled to mix. We were recording literally up until the night before we had to give the record to Sanford to mix it. Actually, the last thing we recorded, the only thing on the record where any two people actually saw each other, there's an acoustic outro at the end of a song called Call It By Its Name. And that was Ryan and I just jamming in a room together. This was after the vaccine was out and people could kind of see each other again and stuff. But it took that long in the process for us to feel comfortable enough to do that. And that piece of music was the last thing we recorded. And I think that was like the night before the album was getting mixed.
Yeah, no, that's a killer track. I do want to ask about that last one, White Ashes, man. That one was a really cool track right at the end there. Nice track, man. I want to...
Thank you, man.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about that track?
So it was kind of inspired by, if you're familiar with George Carlin, the comedian. So he had a bit he did called euphemistic bullshit. And there's been a lot of that lately, especially. And, you know, you hear a term like family values, or, you know, back the blue, or, you know, all these euphemisms, and you know what people mean. You know, when someone says, oh, this is a safe neighborhood, like, you know what they mean. And the song is just me wishing they'd come out and, you know, it's like, you're a racist, or you're violent, or whatever your deal is. Just say it, you know.
Yeah.
Spare me the trouble of having to figure that out. Just say it. Call it what it is, man.
Yeah, cool.
And that's, you know, that's the entire song. The lyrics are just a back and forth between like whatever that turn of phrase would be and then what they really mean. Like watchful eyes of others, security. That's not security. People are watching you. You know, that's not good.
No, it's not good. And I want to go through the other singles that come out. I want to go through the opening track, Sort of Orion. That one was a killer track. Great way to start the album. Tell us about that one.
So that one, so this gets obscure, but so there was an old comic book back in the day called Grendel, and I got the idea from there. There was a scene in that book where this is going to go on a really weird tangent, but
good. I like that.
It's the only way to explain the song. So
we're on the right show. We're on the right show there, Mark.
So the gist of it was, there was an emperor who had gotten all the nations of the world to agree to world peace except one. And his solution was to develop a weapon called Orion's sword, the Sword of Orion, and sink that continent, because they were the only enemies of peace. You know, for years, that comic was probably 20 years ago, but it always stuck with me as just this ethical thing. Like, you know, is it okay to take lives in order to save lives, you know, to prevent war, to ensure peace? You know, how far does that go? I don't particularly want that to happen to anybody, but as time goes on, I think something like that could happen in our lifetime for sure. That kind of scenario where an entire nation gets annihilated for the betterment of the rest of the world, you know?
Yeah. Well, we've seen it around the world, probably not with the whole nation, but definitely where people have been taken out and governments have done exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, but just imagine that escalating to total physical genocide. Imagine a continent sinking, you know? And that's scary shit. Yeah. But that's exactly where the song was coming from, you know? That's just me kind of pondering that, like, oh, what do we do now, you know? So yeah, we started the record in a pretty dark place, I guess. Yeah, but that's the first song, and it's all downhill from there.
It does sit well with the name and the cover of the album as well. That doomy looking cover of the album. Tell us about that one when we're talking about it. Who done your cover?
So the cover is a French Canadian artist named Alexandre Goulet, who I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But it was awesome. Like, usually with the other two covers, like I do design work in real life, so I'll usually direct the covers pretty heavily. Like, I did a sketch for Exile.
Yep.
You know, I'll direct them with a pretty heavy hand. And for this one, I wrote Alexandra. I was like, we want you to do our cover. Cool. What do you want it to be? I don't know. I got nothing. It's kind of about this. The lyrics are kind of about this. And we really, really like the cover of Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath by Black Sabbath. So kind of make it look like that. And yeah, you see it now?
I see it now.
A little bit, right?
Yeah, man. That's cool.
Yeah, so he essentially came back with what you see on the cover. And I was like, yeah, that'll do it. And I did us up a new logo. We didn't really have a logo before. So yeah, that's basically it. You know, I sent him kind of where we were headed with the songs and the lyrics, and that was his interpretation of it. And I couldn't tell you literally what it's about, what the cover's about, but it looks really cool.
Looks cool as fuck, man. It matches the vibe of the album as well. I'm going to work through the other singles as well. The album does drop on the 8th, so I want to go through Lost Tribes, and then I'll jump into The Worst of Us. Tell us about that track, man.
About Lost Tribes?
Yeah, man.
So that one, I don't know, man. I was thinking about a lot of people. I don't know if this has happened to you or people you know, but like a lot of the people I grew up with are really not in my life or my sphere of existence anymore. A lot of those people are just dead, literally dead. And many others just got caught up in some other, bad things. It was kind of a weird crowd that I ran with back at the time. And, I was just thinking about how these people got kind of led into other stuff in life and have met a fate that was not good. And the song's kind of about that, and, kind of going on in life without those people and making it a point to not end up like that is really the gist of it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to die in my 30s. I'm not going to, OD. I'm not going to get into weird religious shit. I'm going to, keep my head down and keep playing guitar and do what I do. That's the basic gist of that song. And I've been doing that anyway. It's not like a new thought for me, but it was just a sentiment that seemed to match those riffs. And I was like, oh, this is going to be that song.
Yeah. No, I totally get that, man. I've probably got a few lost tribes that, that I've had through my life. And I'm sure everyone that gets to this point in their lives have had that. And I was explaining to someone the other week, they were a little bit younger than high school. I'm like, look, don't be too worried about all the friends and crowds you've got right now. Because when you get to my age, they're not going to be around. You're going to have a whole lot of different friends, and there's going to be a whole lot of things that have happened in your life that have pushed you away from those tribes of people, as you say.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's some people, like my kid brother has all the same friends he had from when he was a little kid, like from kindergarten.
Wow.
Same dudes. They've been tight their whole life. And I think that's cool. Amazing, because that doesn't happen to people usually. Like, I've never heard of that at all. I don't talk to anyone from high school, not a single person, I don't think. Not on any regular basis. So yeah, you're right, man. I mean, life kind of goes on and takes you to other places.
Yeah, that's it. Jump into The Worst of Us. Tell us about that track, mate.
Oh my God, man. So I guess the word for it now is cancel culture. And the song's kind of, if you've heard it, it's long. It's kind of like a two-parter, because there's a couple different ideas and points of view in it. There had been an incident in my life where someone who I had known basically got canceled very publicly. And I'm watching this all unfold on social media. People had photos of him doing stuff, and they had saved texts from him and stuff. And I was like, shit, some awful things. But then as I'm watching all this unfold, all these people commenting on, like, oh, screw that guy, and I'm watching, I was like, these are also absolute horrible human beings, and the song in that way is kind of about just judgment. Nobody's, not to defend the person I'm talking about, he did some awful stuff, but like, nobody's perfect. Nobody's gone through their whole life without fucking up. So to sit there and throw stones at people, like, I don't think that's a good idea or particularly productive. And of course, the end of the song is, don't look too closely at anything I've done either.
Yep.
Because some of my actions might not hold up too well either. I try my best, but
yeah, as humans, we're all flawed. We're flawed. We're all humans. We all have imperfections, and I understand
some of us more than others.
Some of us more than others, and you're right. Sometimes in this cancel culture, it does get overboard, because how can this person redeem themselves? Where is the point in them trying to better themselves from their actions and look back? You know what I mean? When they got this kind of like a bullying harassment as well, if they were to turn around and go, look, I know I messed up, I want to change my life, I want to do something better, it's too late, because they've already just fucking destroyed every part of their life anyway. Right. And there's a line in the song where it says, what is this? Tell me what exactly justice would entail. Yeah. It's like, what do you want? What will it take to make this right? What will it take for you to forgive a person and give a person another chance, And some people don't deserve a second chance. Bill Cosby doesn't deserve a second chance. No, don't drink Kool-Aid. Oh, dude. R. Kelly does not deserve a second chance. There's a line. I've seen some funny memes of R. Kelly where it's like the prison dude standing over and going, toot, motherfucker. I saw one the other day, and it was like, if you believe you can fly, now's the time. Yeah, some of these people are absolute pieces of POSs and kind of deserve where they're at. And other people deserve a chance of redemption. And we've got to find a line, as you just said, between it all. And that's what I love about music and heavy metal and we can have these conversations about things like that and not be too fucking worried as well.
I hope not, man, because I already said it.
Yeah, that's it. Playing live, man. We've been talking about COVID and how things are going. I've noticed there's been some shows going, but it's a little different to each state as it is here in Australia. What's the live scene like over where you're at?
The short answer is I don't. I go in 2 years almost to the day. Have another band. We have a death metal band called Bear Mace that we play in, and we just did a show here opening for a band called Gruesome.
Nice.
And it was packed, man. There was actually a really good turnout. In Chicago, at least, the clubs are hello.
Yeah, there she goes.
The clubs here are checking for you have to present proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test, which is I think that's very wise. I think that's very cautious to make sure people don't get sick at these shows. A lot of clubs are requiring masks. That seems really unlikely that they can enforce that, but it's, you know, it's a thought. But there's some shows happening. The major cities like Chicago and places like New York are a little more cautious about enforcing things like that to keep people safe.
Yeah.
As you may have read, there's other states in the United States like Texas and Florida where no one seems to give a shit about anything.
Texas always does what they want anyway.
They will do exactly what they want, and whatever happens to them happens, man. I have no plans to play there anytime soon. But yeah, it's different from even from Chicago to like the suburbs of Chicago or the neighboring cities. They have different rules too. Yeah. And my thought is just that that's probably really confusing for people who want to go see a show to know what the rules are, you know, to know what they need to bring, to know if they're going to be safe, et cetera, et cetera. I can see how that would be hard to keep track of if the rules are different every 10 miles or whatever. But stuff's coming back. There's tours happening, although they seem to keep getting canceled because someone in the band gets COVID or whatever. You know, I keep seeing these tours start and then they end a week later. So it's like a rough start right now, I would say.
It's hard to book shows and have shows with that environment, and you know what I mean. And playing shows is a big part of the metal culture, especially bands like Black Sabbath. You play live, you know, you get rid of your merch to the fans who come along, say good day, meet you. I fucking loved your show, and they probably haven't seen you the first time, and then they go buy a whole ton of merch and go back and tell a whole heap of their mates, like, check these guys out. So it makes it even more important to mention that getting along and supporting bands like yourself, Black Sites, and buying albums as well, like heading over to Bandcamp, and even, you know, you can still, I like to buy digital copies through Bandcamp, and, you know, I can stream it whenever the bloody hell I want, safe in the fact that I've spent the money supporting the band. Is that the best place people can get along and grab the albums from you guys?
Right now, Bandcamp would be the best place. I'm pretty sure it's the only place.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have everything up there. We got some shirts, some new designs that look absolutely killer.
Yep.
We got the CD. We have the digital version. No vinyl yet.
Next one.
Yeah. So we're getting asked about that a lot, and it's been in the news. There's only like 3 places in the world that make vinyl. There's only a few pressing plants. They're all backlogged because everyone made albums during COVID. So vinyl is like at least a year away right now, from what I understand.
But that's good. Everyone can get along if they want to get vinyl. Go along, buy the album, buy some merch, and then you guys got some fucking money to get that sent over and get them pressed and ready to roll.
That would be cool. I mean, it's more of an issue of time than money. I mean, we were gonna do it anyway.
Cool.
But it's at a point now where it's like I would feel bad doing a pre-order and we take people's money for something that might show up in a year.
12 months,
18 months. I'm hearing 18 months now.
Wow.
And that's a long time to hold on to people's money. I don't feel good about that.
No, that's insane. It is good to see the resurgence of vinyl though the last few years, especially in the metal community, and it's fucking unreal to see for me that, you know, us people in the metal community one of the more likely to go buy merch. I know I plug it a lot, but I know us metalheads are very, very good in buying records, shirts, albums, and supporting this community and jumping away from those streaming platforms and putting money where their mouth is.
It has been incredible to see that, especially it's ramped up in the last couple of years, especially because there's been no shows, I think.
Yeah.
But when we did the Bear Mace record last year, and especially seeing the orders for Untrue, which isn't even out yet, what you said, man, people have actually stepped it up considerably as far as supporting physical product and like you said, putting their money where their mouth is, and we appreciate it tremendously, man. It's been totally unexpected and just awesome to see. It's been great.
Yeah, I'm going to ask about Bear Mace. I love death metal as well, man. I'm like one of those guys that have, like, as I've got older, death and black metal has been higher and higher in my rotation. Tell us about Bear Mace. I've got to ask, so I'm going to go check that out straight after this interview.
So Bear Mace was started by myself and my friend Chris, who's the singer. And this is maybe 10 years ago now, but he came to me one day and he's like, hey, I want to do a really bonehead Tampa, death metal band like Massacre. And I was kind of on a break from the band I was in at the time. I had some free time and I was like, all right. And we wrote some riffs and we kind of demoed them up at my house. And I will say everything Bear Mace has done has been organic to the point of almost being accidental.
Choice.
Like we just, people dug what we did and it's like, all right, I guess we'll find a band. I guess we'll play shows. I guess we'll make an album. I guess we'll make another album. And, there's been some lineup changes between records, but Gary from Black Sites is in that band too. He was actually in that band first, I think. But yeah, we made a record last year called Charred Fields of Slaughter, and it came out awesome. It's if you enjoy Massacre or Death or Bolt Thrower, it's certainly in that vein. And I think it came out pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going to be jumping over, cranking the bloody hell out of that as soon as I'm done on here, man. The album is an absolute ripper, and it must be really good to have that vehicle like with Black Sites and then with Bear Mace to jump between the two creatively as well, so it doesn't get too stagnant just doing the one project.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes because it's like, writing for Black Sites because the songs are kind of long and everything, it's more progressive. The songwriting is more intricate. Plus, I'm on the hook for lyrics. So it can take a while, it can be hard work. It can, it can take a month or 6 months to finish a song for Black Sites. Whereas I could, hum a riff in the shower and 10 minutes later it's a Bear Mace song, and that's not to denigrate that music, just that stuff happens really, really fast and it's really easy. And our general mindset is if it's not fast and easy, we're not going to do it.
Yep.
So that band has a way of like almost being like a palate cleanser for working on Black Sites. It's like a nice break from it, and vice versa.
Yeah. I'm going to sign out there. Everyone go check out Bear Mace, Black Sites. The latest album, Untrue, comes out 8th of October. Head over to Black Sites on Bandcamp, buy all their bloody music merch, support the heck out of the band. You love it. Any last words, shout outs, or thank you if you'd like to add in there, Mark?
I would just like to thank you for having me on at this early hour in the morning for you. And if anyone's listening to this, check out Untrue. You might enjoy it, and I hope that you do.
You will enjoy it. Put it in the stereo, crank it really loud for the neighbours. Cheers, mate.
Thank you, man. Cheers.